If you want to come closer, gradually, we're going to actually go up these stairs in a minute. I'm Bruce Adolph, and you will be hearing from Mike in just a moment. That's probably why you're here. I'm the artistic director of Off the Hook Arts. I live in New York. I just flew in, and I'm so excited to be here. I love being in Colorado. This is our 9th year. And I want to thank the Museum of Discovery, of course, for letting us do this, and the City of Fort Collins. And I just want to say a word about what this whole festival is. And you should pick up this booklet if you don't have it, because this explains all the events. We've been going now for 9 years, as I said, and we do music and science and visual arts and all kinds of related things, and all sorts of interdisciplinary explorations, with music as our main focus. So this particular WinterFest, which is this week, is called Beethoven. It's the power of music, Beethoven, healing, and transcendence. And this is because this is a big Beethoven year for the classical music fans out there, and even if you're not, it still is Beethoven's 250th year. He is dead. So when I say 250th, I mean it's an anniversary. But Beethoven is being celebrated right now all over the world because of this anniversary. And with it, we are not the only ones who thought of this. All over the world, people are celebrating Beethoven and music and healing, because Beethoven is a symbol of healing through music on many levels. The most obvious being that he is one of the, not the only, one of the only great deaf musicians. Of course, he wasn't born deaf. He went deaf in his late 20s and into his 30s. And he wrote most of his really great music that is played throughout the world and recorded over and over when he was deaf, which is a remarkable thing. But aside from the fact that he, let's put it this way, he almost killed himself when he was 20-something, he was 28. But he didn't because of music. And we know this because he wrote a will called the Heiligenstadt document, which he wrote in Heiligenstadt, which is near Vienna, where he was writing a will because he was going to kill himself. And during the course of writing it, he realized, as a musician, he had so much more to offer and more to say, that he felt his brain was bursting with musical ideas, and he couldn't die yet because of music. So this was his first realization that music saved his life. But he also began to realize that music can save other people's lives. Right now, music therapy is a very big thing. And we will have music therapy as a huge part of our programs in the summer. We also have 2 weeks in the summer in June in Fort Collins and Boulder. Well, a story, this is a completely true story that's not as well known unless you're really into Beethoven scholarship. One of his piano students was a young woman who had a 4-year-old child who died. And she went into what we would now call a kind of, almost a coma, kind of a trance, basically. She didn't speak, she didn't eat, she didn't cry, she didn't move. And of course, nobody at that time had any idea what to do about this. And Beethoven knew she had a piano because he was her piano teacher. So he went to her home, just walked in and sat at the piano and played, improvised, which he was a very famous improviser. And if you know his music, you can tell that. He improvised until she cried, which took a few hours. And then she spoke to him, and he left. And this is an amazing story because music therapy seems like a modern phenomenon, but it's not really. It's a worldwide thing that is related to what Mike is going to do tonight. Music has always been a part of healing. It's just becoming more both academic and scientific and modern. I would like you to look at this program booklet at some point because this week is packed with stuff. There's going to be a film, which you can read about. I'm giving a talk on Beethoven as an improviser, in which I will read letters and documents about how great he was, and then I will explain how he did it, because I'm a composer, I know this kind of stuff. And I'm going to do some improvisations in the style of that period, and then take us out of that period. That's, I think, Thursday. And then we have the Brentano String Quartet, one of the great string quartets of the world, coming to Fort Collins. They are playing an amazing program featuring Beethoven, Mendelssohn, Shostakovich, Bach, and also a piece that I wrote for them based on the Beethoven that they're playing. The world premiere is in Fort Collins, and then they're playing it in Germany, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Belgium, right afterwards. They leave Colorado and go on their European tour. So try to catch that. We're doing it in Boulder here, and we also have Shai Wasner, a phenomenal pianist, and David Ricchiro, who is teaching in Boulder, is an amazing world-class cellist. So you've got to come to these things. Check out your program booklet, and then think about coming in the summer if this is new to you. All right. So, Michael, I'm sorry to take up so much of your time, but it's what I see new faces here, which is very exciting, and I see some really old faces too. So one of them is me. Okay. So anyway, Michael, please welcome Michael Kimball. You know him very well, and he's going to tell you about what's about to happen.
So yes, I'm Mike Kimball. I'm a professor of anthropology at the University of Northern Colorado, as well as I will be the director of a new center we have there called the Center for Applied Contemplative Studies. So this is kind of in my wheelhouse, and I'm really excited. I'm certified as a mindfulness teacher, and I've been teaching students mindfulness now since 2016. And we first started this experimentation with, with using the Dome Theater last year. And some of you, how many people were there last year? And okay, great, yeah, a handful of people. And it was really a lot of fun and very interesting experience for people, from what I've heard anyway. And so we thought we'd try it again this year, but a little bit different. So what I'm going to be doing is a guided meditation that's sort of multimedia. So we'll be using the Dome Theater, which will have projections on it. We will also have the beautiful music of Jeff LaQuatra, who's a CSU music professor. He plays classical guitar. And so that's going to be happening as well. There's been some interesting studies that look at music as a healing medium, and also, of course, meditation as a healing medium. And the two we're going to tonight bring together for you. So let me tell you a little bit about the approach that I'll be using. It's called Metta meditation, M-E-T-T-A, and it comes from Buddhism, as much meditation that's happening today in the Western world. A lot of it derives from Buddhist meditation practices. It's a little different. Some of you might be familiar with mindfulness meditation. How many people have tried that or heard about it or something like that? Yeah, very common now, very popular. A lot of scientific studies have been done now on mindfulness meditation and its efficacy in working with everything from anxiety to depression to just overall well-being. And of course, Google got a hold of it, and so they're hoping it'll make their employees more productive. Things like that. So, everybody's trying it for something. A whole industry erupts around apps for meditating now, and you can pay a subscription fee once a month and get somebody guiding your meditations for you. Do I sound a little cynical? But, it's all good. So Metta is a little bit different, and there's a story that comes from the Buddhist suttas that has the Buddha sending his monks into the forest to meditate. And back then, it wasn't just wild animals that lived in the forest and meditating monks, but also spirits. And so people believed in a lot of spirit beings, that some of which were not very friendly, that lived in the forest places. And you can imagine your imagination kind of catching fire too if you're alone in the forest in the dark and you hear all these strange sounds and things like that. So he sent them off. He probably, I don't know, I'm not able to figure out what he was really thinking, but I can imagine him having a sense of humor and sending them off there because he knew what would happen. And what happened was they were terrified. They went into the woods, they sat, in the woods, they heard all these strange sounds, and they were freaking out. So one of them came back to him and said, "We can't do this. This isn't working. We're being attacked. There's strange animals out there. There's spirit beings that are angry that we're out there. We got to get out of here. This isn't working." And that's, they say, when he taught them this new form of meditation called Metta, which is translated roughly as loving kindness meditation. And here in the West, we have an interesting relationship to loving kindness. We wish we had more than we have. We seem to be configured around things like retribution more than we are around extending loving kindness to others, especially those we disagree with. And things are very polarized right now. And so loving kindness is really something that we probably all should be practicing a little bit. But there's a sensitivity around it. People think, well, you know, if I practice loving kindness, am I just going to become a big softie? Am I going to become a welcome mat? You know, people are just going to just walk all over me. But as it turns out, we're a little more resilient than we think we are as human beings. And cultivating loving kindness as a practice actually connects us to people. So another thing you may have noticed about modern society is that we're more and more disconnected. And events like this, live events where people come together, meet each other, listen to music together, are, you know, kind of a vanishing species of connection that we have. More and more people are relying on staying at home and watching Netflix or connecting on their phones to social media, and less connecting like we are all doing right here tonight. And so I think this is an extraordinary opportunity to really reflect on how important connection is for human beings, especially in light of what's going on in the world today, politically, but also environmentally. So we have, you know, there's a few people left doubting that climate change is happening, but they're diminishing in number. More and more people are recognizing at the level of just regular people that climate change is happening all over the world, and people are suffering, and other creatures are suffering, and the world is changing rapidly, and there's a lot of fear coming up right now, a lot of anxiety, especially in young people who want to look forward to a future and are starting to really question what that future is going to look like when things are changing so fast. And so what we tend to do as human beings when we're faced with anxiety and when we're faced with fear is pull in, contract, because we want to protect ourselves. We go into sort of an emotional fetal position, you know? And that makes sense. It's a natural reaction to fear, but it also further disconnects us, further alienates us from the very kind of relationships that will probably foster our survival in the long term, which is each other and our connection to the natural world, to living things that are not human. Fostering those connections, developing those connections is what's going to make us survive. If we keep retracting into this fetal position, we're going to end up being alone and vulnerable. So Metta was a practice that the Buddha handed to his monks. And basically what it did was it worked on that crusty layer that we build around ourselves, around our sense of self, around this feeling like I have to protect this at all costs, even if it means pushing other people and other connections with other living things away. And so what it does is it kind of works on dissolving that crustiness and allowing us to recognize that we are connected and we always have been, but we just forget. We're a very forgetful species. We forget a lot of things. And it's one of the things we forget so often with our technologies and our media and all that kind of stuff is that we are actually connected. So it's a remembering of connection more than it is establishing connection. It's remembering the connection we already have. So he sent them in there and he said, this is what you need to do. And of course this isn't a direct quote, but something along the lines of, okay, go back into the forest, start meditating, do your usual thing, but then I'm going to give you some phrases to think about. And you know, some people might call them prayers, but in actual fact, they aren't the same as prayers, because you're not praying to a superior being for help. You're just extending a wish for happiness or a wish for help. And so he said, start with yourself and direct those feelings of loving kindness towards yourself using these phrases. And then there are these sort of concentric circles. So you go then to someone that's close to you, and you imagine them being there. And then you go to somebody that's maybe neutral. You see them around, you know, you see each other. Some of you know each other well tonight, and others you see people you've never seen before. So you're extending that sense of loving kindness, that wish for loving kindness to them. And then you go outward from there until you're finally looking at all living beings, all beings, you know, and at that time that included spirit beings and you know, spirits that lived in the forest and things like that, and the tigers that were there. Everyone was included in that effort to wish for loving kindness, and it changed their entire relationship to their position in that forest, to each other, and to every living thing that was in the forest. And it was transformative for them. And what they realized was that, they didn't have to be as afraid as they thought they were. And fear tends to, conjure up all sorts of, like I said, ways for us to defend ourselves. But as that fear dissolves, so do the ways of having to defend ourselves. And then we start to realize that connection exists. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to do it in the dome. We're going to do it in a different way. So I was talking about concentric circles just now. And that, you can think of that as horizontally, right? So, there's myself at the center, and then there's somebody I hold dear to me, and they're in the next ring, and so forth. Not that way. What we're going to do is we're going to go vertical. So we're going to go vertically tonight, and that means we're going to start with ourselves and move outward a little bit horizontally. And then we're going to go up. We're going to go up into the sky and be looking at new layers and new perspectives and extending those wishes of loving kindness to those dimensions. So, and I want to mention that this is, this comes from Buddhism, but now, as I said, with mindfulness, there's been a lot of scientific investigations of this. Well, there's now more and more scientific investigations into the power of this kind of loving kindness or metta meditation. And they're finding, neuroscientists are finding that, that our brains are actually changing a little bit as we do this continued practice. And the kinds of things that, the amygdala, for example, is a part of the brain that helps us be afraid of things or helps us get anxious about things, which is, it has survival value. Don't get me wrong. We don't want to just be lumps, sitting around saying, eat me, tiger. So, we want to be, those are useful organs in the brain, but they can be overused in a society where we're not as, we don't need to be as fearful as we are. So what they're finding with these neuroscientific studies is that the amygdala is less reactive as people practice loving kindness meditation. That the kinds of things that make people want to contract aren't as reactive when you're continuing to do this kind of practice. So there's health benefits to that. There's relationship benefits to that as we continue to practice. And like with any training at all, continued practice is the answer. Not once in a while, just a little bit on a regular basis will make a big difference in your life and your relationships with other people. So what we're going to do, I'll ask you, of course, to make sure your cell phones aren't going to start ringing in the middle of the thing, so make sure they're muted. We're going to go up into the Dome Theater. You're going to find a seat up there, and I will introduce the practice there. So we're going to have Jeff LaQuatra at the bottom, and he will start playing once the guided meditation begins. And I'm just going to ask you to sort of investigate what happens for you when you're combining your awareness of the music with your awareness of the space around you as we're moving vertically through it, and your awareness of the feelings of loving kindness that you're conjuring up and directing towards the different types of people and so forth. So give it a try, be curious about it, and then at the very end I would like to take a few minutes and just ask you what came up for you, just to check in with you and see what the experience was like. And then we'll all come down and enjoy the rest of what Off the Hook has to offer us tonight through the WinterFest tables and foods and drinks and things like that. So is everybody ready to try this out? All right, let's go and do it. So once again, I'll remind you to make sure your cell phones are turned off, muted, whatever it takes to not start ringing in the middle of everything. And then we'll begin when you find a comfortable kind of position in your chair. In mindfulness meditation, we direct our attention to the breath or some other object and gently hold it there. In Metta meditation, we bring our attention to a set of brief phrases. We begin by repeating these phrases, which are intended to extend care and compassion to ourselves and other living beings, thereby fostering feelings of connection. Tonight we'll use a set of phrases that I suggest, but when you try this on your own, feel free to adapt them to fit your own style and language.
We'll use 4 metta phrases tonight, starting with ourselves. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live with ease. These phrases are not prayers or incantations. They're uttered without a demand or expectation for any particular outcome. They are merely wishes from the heart. Your mind will probably wander at some points during this journey. It's probably wandering right now. That's totally normal. When you notice it's wandered, simply return your attention to the phrases. You might also encounter negative or critical thoughts and feelings about yourself or others arising during this journey. That's okay too. Just notice them. Like some people in our life, these thoughts and feelings are teachers, helping us find and gently probe our boundaries. If at any point you experience uncomfortable emotions or thoughts, then this may mean that it's time to redirect the metta phrases to yourself. So please feel free to adapt the phrases to your needs in the moment as we go along. When you hear the bell, our metta musical journey begins. The journey will also end on the bell. Following the closing bell, we'll bring up the lights and briefly check in on your experience for anyone who would like to share it. Now gently close your eyes, and you will be opening them later, but I'm inviting you now to gently close your eyes. And let's listen for the bell. With eyes gently closed, we begin by offering metta you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. If you find yourself experiencing uncomfortable emotions or thoughts, this is totally normal and a signal that you too deserve to receive metta. In this case, feel free to return the phrases to yourself. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live with ease. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Now gently open your eyes and take in the lively scene around you. These are likely people you don't know. You don't know their names, where they come from, anything much at all about them. People are going about their business, alone or with others. But what we do know is that these people want to be happy, just like we do. That they are vulnerable to pain and loss, just as we are. Offer them your metta phrases. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Be safe. Be healthy. Be happy. Live with ease. As we leave the ground, we see Fort Collins below us. Full of people traveling, shopping, at work, in their homes, in hospitals and homeless shelters, on street corners, in restaurants, houses of worship, walking, riding bikes, sitting, standing, lying down. Full of people doing what they want to do, doing what they must do, together and alone. All of these people want to be happy and healthy just like we do. All of them feel pain and joy just like we do. Offer them all your metta phrases. May you all be safe. May you all be healthy. those with whom we have friendly relationships, those with whom we have difficult relationships, people we have only seen in passing, people we have never met. Try to imagine them and other creatures, four-legged creatures, bears, deer, coyotes, mountain lions, dogs, cats, squirrels, rabbits, winged creatures, owls, hawks, crows, sparrows, bats, swimming creatures, crawling creatures. Like us, all of these living beings seek happiness and try to avoid suffering. Offer them all your metta phrases. May you all be safe. May you all be healthy. May you all be happy. May you all live with ease. Be safe. Be healthy. Be happy. Live with ease. And now we see the expanse of our North American continent, with its coastal regions, mountains, plains, its evergreen and deciduous forests, its estuaries, lakes, ponds, and springs, its cities, suburbs, towns, and rural places. Living beings are everywhere here. Try to imagine all of them. In the air, on the ground, in the water, beneath the soil. Old and young people are here. Sick and well people are here. Able-bodied and disabled people are here. May all these beings, known and unknown, big and small, may all these beings be safe. May all these beings be healthy. May all these beings be happy. May all these beings live with ease. Be safe. Be healthy. Be happy. Live with ease. Now we are leaving the Earth's surface and see our planet becoming smaller. A warming, pale blue dot, as the late great astronomer Carl Sagan once called it. And the shifting schools of fish or the teeming nuptial flights of ants. May all these living things, known and unknown, seen and unseen, rooted and restless, may our whole planet be safe. May it be healthy. May it hold happiness. May it foster lives with ease. You may find it feels right to return now to the thoughts and the phrases that come back to you. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live with ease. May our whole planet be safe. May it be healthy. May it hold happiness. May it foster lives with ease. And now your awareness returns to this room. The night sky projected on the dome. The people sitting next to you. All of them in this room. Like you, each of them wishes to be happy. Each is vulnerable to suffering. As a final offering, we extend metta phrases to all of them, to all of us. May you all be safe. May you all be healthy. May you all be happy. May you all live with ease. Be safe. Be healthy. Be happy. Live with ease. So I just want to take a few moments to find out what that was like for all of you. I'm not not familiar with this ever having been tried before, so I don't know what kind of reactions there are out there. Probably some of you fell asleep. And that's good too, that means you need some sleep. So, yeah, does anybody want to share out what that was like? What did you experience? What came up for you?
It was amazing.
Amazing. Okay, I like that word. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Thank you.
Peaceful.
Peaceful. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Cried. Yeah. Yeah. There's some strong emotions that we hold into ourselves. We internalize, and these kinds of practices can release them, and that is a very powerful and very healing thing. Some of us kind of learn from a young age that we're supposed to hold that in, and when it comes out, we think that's a bad thing, but of course, it's a very healing thing. So thank you for sharing that. Anything else? Yeah.
My heart expanded beyond my chest.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Yeah, we realize that that's not the boundary, right? The chest isn't the boundary. The heart can keep going, and it connects with other hearts. So that's nice. Thank you. Yeah.
Is there a reason that we say,
Mm.
may you be, versus say you are? Or
Mm.
something?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because it's, this is the traditional wording of it, because it's a wish. And so it doesn't have any requirements attached to it. It's not a command. And you know, this is of course translated into the English language, and so we have to work with those kinds of differences. But the best translation is to make sure that it still holds the essence of that wish for something. So it's really coming from your heart, and it doesn't have a direction. It's not saying you must be like this, and this is really important with metta practice, because one of the things we find when we're dealing with things like climate change or divisions that cause so much anxiety and animosity between groups of people or individual people is that we find that when we wish something for someone, we want them to change, or we want things to be in a certain state. You know, so when we think about climate change, we want it to stop. You know, stop changing. But in actual fact, you know, we come to realize that everything is always changing, and so we can't be that. We can't have that kind of control. But what we can do is extend our feelings of compassion into the world. And you know, when we do that with people, it's mutual. It works both ways. But we can do it alone too, because what it does is, as you were saying, it expands the heart. And so then, when you continue that practice, you just find yourself relating to people differently, and that changes things. But it's not in the way that we always want it to happen, and at the same time scale. So that's why we say may this be the way it is. Other thoughts? Question? Yeah. Thank
I'd
you.
just like to say that was amazing how you guys started. You mentioned the circles, the speech before
Yes.
the show was,
Yeah.
I think, helpful in the sense that
Oh, good.
when we focused on just Old Town Fort Collins
Yeah.
as the initial, like, you're not
Yeah.
connected to any of these people.
Yeah.
It's so close to you.
Yeah.
As you get farther and farther away from the globe, it was enlightening. So
Yeah. Thank you for that.
that many more people I don't know.
Yeah,
Never
exactly.
tried to connect with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I really thought that made it personal.
Yeah. In a sort of counterintuitive way, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I like that. Thank
I
you.
felt comfortable at that point.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, because it plays with this notion of distance. So what we tend to do when something's hurting us, or when somebody's upsetting us or whatever, we put distance between us. Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's emotional. But in this practice, it actually transforms that distance, because then you're in the process of connecting while you get the bigger picture. And so it opens you up even more. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. Anything else? I encourage everyone to try this at home. Try this at home. And just take a few moments. It doesn't have to be as long as what we did. It can be 5 minutes. But try the concentric circle approach. Try starting with yourself. And what I find is interesting is when I've listened to teachers who come from Buddhist traditions in Asia, they're often surprised to find that for people in this country especially, starting with the self sometimes is the hardest thing, because we have all of this criticism, and we have this self-hatred sometimes. And so when we direct compassionate thoughts or wishes towards ourselves, we find ourselves putting up a barrier. Well, I don't deserve that. And so that's why I mentioned at the very beginning that this is a mindfulness practice, because you just notice that. You notice the barriers that you've built that you didn't notice before. And you don't try to knock them down. You just bring kindness to them. You understand why you have them. You have them because you've always needed to protect yourself, or felt you needed to. And so those barriers are not bad, but they can prevent us from connecting. And so we just want to work with them rather than trying to knock them over or blast through them. We just work with them. We understand them. We bring compassion to them. So try with yourself at the center, and then, as we did here, move to somebody that's close to you. Somebody that you don't have a lot of complicated feelings about. Somebody that just makes you happy. Could, like I said, it could be a pet. It could be a close loved one. And then go beyond that to somebody who's neutral. And this gets into what you were saying. You can imagine somebody that you just meet when you're walking your dog, or somebody you meet check out at the store or something, and you don't know them. But it changes you when you think, may they be happy, may they be healthy. It changes your relationship. And then you move beyond that to complicated relationships, to difficult people. And I don't recommend jumping to the most, the political figure that drives you insane. I don't think we want to start with that. We want to start with just somebody in your life who's created sort of difficult circumstances for you, had difficult emotions around it. And that's where you get to play a little bit. You have to be very careful. But if you play a little bit with it, extend some loving kindness toward them, and then towards yourself. Because if you're feeling defensive, you're trying to protect yourself, you need to honor that. And you need to bring those feelings back to yourself. And then you keep going with the concentric circles. So going beyond that to all living beings. And then you can extend it beyond that to every living being in the universe if you want. And so, what?
What about past?
Yeah, okay, past is interesting, right? Yeah,
The kindness and love you meant to extend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's true. Some people do the practice, I'm glad you brought that up, because some people do the practice like this. If they're having a really hard time extending loving kindness to themselves, they find a picture of themselves when they were a very small child. And they put that on a shelf, and they look at that child, and they extend the feelings of loving kindness toward that child. Very powerful practice. And it helps, again, soften those boundaries. So yeah, I think the past is important too, yeah.
I'm sorry, I meant deceased.
Yes, I mean, I understand that, yeah. And ourselves are always changing. And so in a way, the self you were then is no longer the self you are now. So that definition of deceased can extend to, actual deceased people, but also to the selves that we've changed from, one into another as we've gotten older. So to me, it all fits together, a bigger picture. Yes?
Can that be extended to a walking meditation as you're going through Old Town, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful practice. I like improvisational mindfulness because there's no real rules around this. You can try, you can experiment, you can test. And so for some people, movement is a very important part of their practice. And so bringing a loving kindness component to that could be very powerful. For other people, movement is distracting. And so they end up having all kinds of emotions and feelings and thoughts come up while they're moving because they're seeing things and it's reminding them of things and they can get very distracted. So all of us are very different and we need to experiment. We need to play with these things and then they can be very powerful when we do that. Thank you. Yeah.
I found when we got to Old Town Square with the random people, this was challenging but also quite rewarding. Because we're often at a place where we have at least something in common. So here it would be the place rather than a concert or tonight, for example.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
really
was
great.
challenging to take random people and try to connect with them.
Yeah, that's really great.
Informative.
And I really like how you're bringing place into that. Because sometimes we think of our connections just with people on an interpersonal level, which is obviously important, but we forget that we have this connection to place, and then we realize, as you said, I think, if I'm understanding you right, you realize you shared that with other people, that connection to place. And you're right, that's challenging, and all kinds of things come up. And that's something that's very important about this practice, is not to push things out that come up. When it becomes difficult, that means you're doing it right. But you also have to be sensitive to what one teacher calls a window of tolerance. So if you feel like you're getting out of your window of tolerance and there's too much emotion coming up, just back off. Give yourself space. And then just, again, be very gentle about re-entering. So be very careful, but playful at the same time. And then you get to work with those challenges and get insights, right? You get insights into yourself and to also relationships that you didn't think you had.
Can practicing this over time increase your neuroplasticity or rewire your brain in some way?
Yeah, so from what I'm not a neuroscientist, but I've read a fair amount, and so there's a neuroscientist in the room, I'm sure there is, and you're going to just totally correct me, just like school me, so go ahead, I'm ready for that. But my understanding is that, our brains are just fundamentally neuroplastic, and so they're always changing with experience, especially repeated experience. And there is new research going into looking at neuroplasticity as a consequence of long-term meditative practice. One of the areas that I would direct you to, if you're interested in that kind of research, is the Center for Healthy Minds at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Richie Davis is a neuroscientist who works with a great team over there, and they've been doing just that kind of research, along with many people in other places. But that's a good place. They have a great website, and they list all their research there, and you can find out what they're doing. It's really great.
Could you repeat the name?
Yeah, it's the Center for Healthy Minds, and it's at University of Wisconsin-Madison, and the lead researcher is, his name is Richie Davis.
I'm sure you know Thich Nhat Hanh's work,
Yes.
Engaged Buddhism.
Yes.
You kept saying, am I safe? And I kept wanting to follow up with that. Am I engaged? Am I doing something as opposed
thank
to
you.
retreating?
Yeah, this is, you raise a really important point, because I think it's very easy to look at meditation as an escapist tool, right? One where you do it to get away from the stress. And the world is still changing around you, and you're trying to hide yourself from it by meditating. There is a spiritual practitioner associated with the Shambhala, he founded the Shambhala tradition, who called it spiritual bypass, which means you're just using this kind of practice to get away from the very things you need to be addressing. And that engagement part is really core, and Thich Nhat Hanh was, I should say is, but he's very old now. But that's such a huge part of his contribution to this kind of work. Yes?
You can do it when you're driving.
Ha!
When you're having a driving challenge.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
Yeah, that can be very dangerous. You can do what they call a stoplight meditation. And that means that, when you come to a full stop, you're bringing your attention to the moment. Because so many of us really have a profound loathing of traffic lights. And when they turn red, we find all kinds of frustration coming up. Like, well, why did that person in front of me take so long to get through that intersection? Now look at me, I'm stuck at this intersection. So it's a perfect opportunity for practice. Just not while you're driving, because you really have to rely on all your senses for making sure you're not running people over and things like that. But yes, stoplight meditation can be very powerful. I need to work on that. My wife is here, and she's probably, where are you, Laura? You're probably nodding your head going, give me a break, you're hopeless. Anything else? Great, well, I'm happy to talk with you afterwards, and you can get in touch with me by email at University of Northern Colorado, whatever, but I just want to thank you all for coming to this event, and I want to thank Jeff for that beautiful music. Can we give him a hand? That was just incredible. It really worked. I mean, it just really worked. It was so amazing. And I also, sorry? Yeah? Oh, I also want to thank Ben Gondres, who's the director of this Dome Theater, and thank you, Ben. This is incredible. In turn, his assistant, thank you for all the work you've done, and everyone else at the museum, and of course Off the Hook Arts. Jeff DeBernstein and Bruce Adolfi and Chloe Chandler, who's an intern here, and there are a number of other staff who I don't know quite as well, but I want to thank them all for the hard work they put into over and over and over again to make these events so successful. So my feelings of loving kindness are going out to all of you for all of that. So we have a reception downstairs, and please enjoy, and thank you once again for coming.